The stable army is what every country would desire. Mental health continues to be a matter of discussion, and this time round we discuss mental health issues in the UPDF. I am privileged to speak to the person in charge of, the spokesperson of the Uganda People's Defense Forces, that is none other than Brig.Gen Felix Kulayigye. Thank you very much for finding time to speak to us.
Hello viewers, I believe God has kept you well, and keep serving Him, keep serving your country.
So Brigadier, what makes the Army a very unique institution?
The Army is unique because of the work it does, because of the tools we use to do our work, because of the conditions we work in, because of the job we do. These themselves are unique. How? For starters, ours is a life and a death job. If you are at war, chances of survival are not 50-50. Actually, survival, death and survival is almost 70-30. In fact, when we are training, we tell our commanders and fighters, a lieutenant is supposed to survive 15 minutes on the battlefield. If you survive 15 minutes, it means you are not going to die in that battle. Maybe you die in another one. Number two, it's a job that is strenuous. You can even work 27 hours, if I may use that word, instead of the 24. What am I saying? That you will be awake 24 hours and you are still working even beyond, in times of emergencies, in times of war. Three, because of these tough conditions, you fight in bad terrain or bad environment, whether mountainous or very cold like Rwenzori is, or forested like Congo is now, where our soldiers are, or desert like Somalia, where we are operating from. Those are very hard conditions. And so, that in itself tests one's conscience, one's spirit, one's mind. But we are prepared. We are trained accordingly. What's the other one that makes it unique? I mentioned the tools we use. We carry means of violence, tools of violence. This gun on its own is harmless. Like you see this cushion, that's how a gun will be. The person holding the gun matters most. He can make it harmful or maintain its harmlessness. So his training, his state of mind is very critical in how that gun serves the country, serves him, or endangers the country, or endangers him.
So who is a mentally balanced security officer?
A mentally balanced security person is that person that wakes up in the morning, he's physically well, he's mentally well. In other words, he's doing things that ordinarily are normal. I'm using the word ordinarily purposefully. That ordinarily are normal things that are done by a human being. The talking is coherent. There is no jumping from this one to the other, but there is systematic communication from this person. Three, the way he or she relates with others. And four, if he or she has a responsibility, like being a commander, you judge from the way this individual is treating the subordinates. And this, even in ordinary life, you see these things. So, a balanced person is not excited unnecessarily or unnecessarily moody, out of his or her usual mood, you see that this person has something that is unusual, then that person has an issue, and in the military, you have a responsibility as the superior to talk to that individual.
When do you tell that your army officer is mentally unbalanced?
Incoherence in talking, character conduct with himself or herself, with other people. For instance, a person is expected to laugh. But if a person laughs unnecessarily, there's a problem. A person can be angry or unhappy. But if a person is jittery or touchy, those are signs of instability of the mind. And so, you pick interest in that individual. 4, the person's way of doing things. For example, you see my table is clear. But then all of a sudden you find papers are scattered over my table. I'm here. Papers are scattered. These books have been moved. Something obviously is not right. Either there's something that I'm not seeing and therefore it has destabilized me, or I have come with an unstable mind from home and therefore I'm doing things out of the ordinary. Those are indicators. Like somebody gets in here and out of the blue, an outburst, I'm being rude to this individual or shout at him or her, question mark. Those are indicators.
So where do you take this army officer who has a mental imbalance?
The person is not sick until declared so by the medical people. The person may be unstable. The person may be angry or excited positively. Positively means something good has happened to him or her, and they come when they are in high spirits. But happen also come when they are in low spirit. And there are several challenges or causes that cause these things. And so before you take them for a medical facility, establish the cause of this. Could it be there is a challenge at home? Let me tell you, and this one, it's good for academic. If you are dealing, for example, with ladies, if the lady did not have good sex, she will be very moody. So it's important that you check what is the cause. Or if a child is sick, the effect on you, the man, on your the sickness of your child, is not the same effect to the mother. The mother will be more emotional than you, the father of the child. This may make this person unstable, but they are not sick. So we don't rush for medical treatment. We deal with counseling at administrative level. Because along our training as commanders, we are trained to deal with these unusual occurrences. It's when you realize that this person's behavior, which is unusual, has persisted, then you refer to the counselors. And you will advise this individual, so by the way, go and meet so and so. And so, medical attention is third level. From you, the commander, you invite a friend if something has continued, and then you go to a psychiatrist, because we have them in the military. Yeah.
How do you monitor that all your security officers are in the right shape when it comes to matters of mental health?
Now, when you get to a level of anxiety, in psychology you call it anxiety neurosis, that is sickness. It requires medical attention. If somebody is traumatized, that is sickness. You can calm the anxiety, you can calm the trauma by talking with this individual. If the individual has strong values, I tend to use that word, if the mental psyche of this individual is able to withstand. For example, myself, I can tell you, at the cost of appearing to be boastful, for something to destabilize me, it is only when it's putting my reputation to the disrepute. If says I don't fulfill what I promised, and I feel it will portray me in the wrong angle, I will be destabilized. I will be anxious. That's actually not the word. That's the right word. I will be anxious. Now there are people who are who will get anxiety because they are failing to meet the deadline. They are failing to meet the promise. Now those ones are not sick. It's circumstantial instability. Talking to this individual will solve the problem. Now there are those who have suffered from trauma, for example, because of the situation he or she has been operating in. That's a matter you refer to now counseling and all the way to mental health. Mental health meaning now you bring in a mental doctor to deal with what the counselor has failed to solve. Now the packages they are saying, so I as a commander am trained to deal with these challenges at the unit level. When they are beyond me, then I refer to the medical people. They know now. They are the ones who decide whether a psychiatrist or a mental doctor should be able to attend this individual. They have that ability. At my level, I only can do the counseling as an administrator, as a leader. Once this person fails to appreciate the counseling, then you hand over.
The killings have continued. Could this be as a result of issues emanating from matters of mental health?
Some, it's a mental health issue, especially if they have been in a harsh environment for a long time. And then when they come, something triggers anger, unmanageable anger. When you talk of irreconcilable differences, there's no difference that is not reconcilable. It's perception. It's the way I look at you. For example, the way you're looking at me, before you are being keen, you are studying my body language, my words. Now, another person will think, thank you very much. And therefore, I will be angry. Are you getting what I'm talking about? So, again, perception comes in. I don't know whether you have come across this, but mental issues are affected by a variety of issues. Environment, my upbringing, how was I brought up? For example, I was brought up to respect people. So when you come disrespectfully, I will be offended, naturally. Are you getting what I'm talking about? Or another one, he doesn't mind. They did not ingrain in him or her the aspect of respecting people older than you, or minding about other people's feelings. That's the word I was looking for. And so, a person will be upset by the way you have approached him. If it finds this individual already had issues on his or her mind, it can trigger extreme reaction. The case we had in Luzira of a man who shot his wife and actually he shot some other man. The wife escaped. He was in Somalia. He was sending his money to her to do business. So he returns, asks for the business the woman has been doing, and he says, Ombuzangani. You're asking me as who? But I'm your husband. Then you are not. Even this child is not yours. Now, that is touching on the manhood. Not the manhood, the genitals, no. The spirit of the man. The ego gets wounded. I don't know whether I'm explaining this thing well. So, the killings you see are a product of various aspects. First, an injured ego. Two, loss. Some people can't handle loss. I gave you my money. You promised you are going to do ABC and return my money with even profit. You have not paid me a year, 2, 3 years. So I ran out of patience. And maybe I borrowed this money from the bank. The bank is taking my property. Stress levels go high. So if you are not careful to reply to me in a sober way, you snap, yes. I snap. So if I am armed, I'll go for it. If I'm not armed, I'll punch you. And this is not only in armed forces. You have seen in homes. But all these, and I would argue, you academicians, all these can be mitigated if we bring about children soberly. If we prepare them for the real world. Not to think a child, not to make a child think that all is rosy. It is claimed, I'm not so sure, that in the Middle East, particularly Arab Israelis and Palestinians, they would deny at times the child something he or she likes and tell him the Arab has taken it, or a Jew has taken it. What is the purpose? You are making this child grow with anger against the other group. So he will grow knowing that to survive, you must be careful of the Arabs, you must be careful of the Jews. I don't want to get what I'm talking about. So my generation was brought up to believe that life is a struggle. To achieve what you want, you must exert yourself. You must task your mind, you must task your body. Today, everything seems to be easy for the middle class especially. TV is available, breakfast is assured. Breakfast which has a blue band. I only saw blue band when I was an adult. Water is available. I grew up fetching water. They are cooking using gas or electricity. I cooked with firewood. I walk to school barefooted. This individual is not only having shoes but driven to school. Are you getting me? So there is a plant called the soga soga. I don't know that you know it. So we have children who are now in soga soga. You can only break it even with bare hands. Now, when this child joins the military, with these conditions I've told you, he can't cope. She will see this as unfair. And that's why you see that today, you have a high sense of entitlement. So people who are highly self-entitled will not accept shortages, a life of lack of certain things.
You have gazetted Tale Sita and given it a specific day. In your very preamble, you have alluded to the fact that mental health issues are critical issues. Why don't you also take this as a priority?
We have prioritized. For example, we did establish a department of mental health, headed by a medical doctor who is a psychiatrist. He's a general by rank. Now, under him, he has medical psychologists. We also have psychiatrists, people who are purely counselors. They also exist. But this, like I have said, it's a new development. If you may recall, if you have read our history, soldiers were not committing murders. Why? One, because of our upbringing. We knew life is about challenges, Actually, when you are victorious, you are proud of yourself that, yes, I have conquered this situation. Number one. Number two, the training we received, okay, it was tough. And the philosophy was, sweat more in training so that you shed less blood in war. That was the philosophy. Now today, we send children and they follow them. You want to know how they are trained. You want to determine that the training should be friendly. You want to follow where they have been deployed. I don't see what I'm talking about. I remember the days of later Ronda. He shared with me of a minister who was following up his son. I understand my son is in Wenzoris. And the man said, yes. He said, no, bring him from there. Minister is ordering the Chief of Defense Forces to change the deployment of his son. And I'm glad the late general told him, sir, has he told you he doesn't have warm suits? I said, no. Has he told you he's not eating? He said, no. So, or has he told you he's alone in the mountains? He said, no. So he said, allow me run the army. See what I'm talking about? So we are not allowing our children to grow into responsible and effective adults.
You're one of the ministries that consume sums and sums of money. I would like to find out how much is particularly distributed on matters regarding mental health in the army.
We do take care of all our officers and men in medical, with their medical challenges. All, irrespective of what type. And if matters are even beyond our ability, we make referrals to more sophisticated medical facilities. But if I may help your thinking, the budget we receive includes buying of equipment. If I may tell you, a jet fighter is not less than $30 million, one. And can't fight alone, you deploy it in threes. So you're talking of $90 million in one combat. And they cannot be brought down once. So this money is not only on us, it's on equipment as well. But like I mentioned earlier, the important thing is not the equipment, it's the person manning the equipment. And that's why we have had to create a specialized department. And like I've told you, it's a new development. It's about 4 or 5 years now. Because previously, political education or siyasa was sufficient. Reason, we were made to believe in what we fight for. Now, when you are fighting for a cause you understand, there is no amount of pressure that will break your mind.
Are there countries that you benchmark as the army in Uganda, especially on matters regarding mental health?
Of course, we did benchmarking. I remember in 2012, we went to the UK to see how they handle mental health, to see how they handle the medical, those who are mentally unstable. Yes, we have done benchmarking.
Have you ever been a general mentally unstable?
Me? No. Actually, when I have a challenging situation, I'm the most sober person you come across. Why? I have trained myself to believe that challenges make a man. And two, for you to overcome a challenge, you must be sober. So you don't surrender your ability to conquer. 3, I believe in the power of God in my life. So I do what the military has taught me. What's beyond you, you hand over. So for me, what is beyond me, if it's within the human means, I hand over to the next. I'm a brigadier, I will hand over to Major General. If I know it's at person level, Even the other person won't help me vertically. I go to God. We give what we call compassionate leave, 14 days, ordinarily. But we also have annual leave. Okay? Now, the third way, if an individual declares of a challenge at home, he or she is given 14 days to go and solve the problem. It's average. I mean, it's standard. 14 days, go and solve this problem. If it is persistent, you report back, they can increase the days. But yes. And that's why for us, every morning, we'll have what we call master parade. Soldiers assemble. They are, for the following reasons. A, they are told what's happening in the army elsewhere. 2, they are asked for their problems or issues that need attention by the leadership. We use the word shida, it's a Swahili word. Problems? Yes, sir, at home, my children are ABCD, I would request to go and see them. Or, yes, sir, I have a sick child, I need, that kind of thing. We do. And I will tell you, following, I forgot to give you an illustration of the question of observation. When I was a battalion commander in 2004, I didn't notice that one of my soldiers was losing weight unnecessarily. So I asked my escorts, what's wrong with so and so? They told him, you know what, sir? I said, no. And actually, woman bewitched his manhood. The thing can't salute anymore. So I called him. I said, Ndugu, what is it? He looked down. Looked down. So I realized it's a matter that is emotional. So I said, tell me. I said, my thing can't stand anymore. Why? I said, I had a naturally woman. I cut my relationship with her, and she seemed to have done something. Now, when it's a matter that is unscientific, you want, first of all, to deal with this man's psychology. First step, go home. So I actually got to my wallet, gave him money from my own money. This is a transport, go home. At home in Africa, they know how to deal with these things. Gave him 2 weeks. When the soldier came back, he was all happy. He had gained his weight. I said, actually, Swahili is very interesting. Kitu napiga saluti sasa. He said, yes, sir. So you definitely will observe that somebody is disoriented. So we give them time. Of course, some individuals, again, these are individual weaknesses. Some individuals may not. I'll give you an example. And I talk about its family stability. Here was an officer commanding a battalion in Pajule. Pajule is in Pade district. His wife had run away with another man. Now she had come back to sell his house. So she was evicting his children. He had asked his brigade commander for permission. The commander had refused. Why? The operational tempo was very high. And this man was actually at the very crucial point of the area where they were crossing from. But when I say a man cry, compassion. So I called the brigade commander. I said, with your permission, I will command my battalion and his. But let this man go and solve this children problem, because we are all working for our children.
And so last but not least, during recruitment, do you only consider the usual issues, or you also treat mental health issue as a priority during the recruitment process?
We used not to bother until recently. You now want to see the coherence of the candidate in the questioning. After you have done the run, the purpose of the run, by the way, is to tickle or to stimulate any element that was hitherto hidden. So now the doctor who is together with the recruitment team must be sure or must participate in interviewing the individual. Numbers are very many. You may not have the sufficient time. So some may say this may seep through this screening with a mental problem. And like I said, it is for academic purpose. It happened. We recruited somebody in either Apache or Lira. No, Minakuru. It's on Guru Road. The society there knew this man as unstable, as mad in their words. But he has joined the army. We discover him when he's a soldier and he's doing things that were dangerous, not only to himself, but even to his colleagues. And so we go back now. And they said, but how did he join? For us here, we know he's unstable. So we realized the person who did the recruitment there skipped one step, the letter from the LOC. Either he skipped it or the LOC chairman was not honest in the letter he had given. Because we require every individual to come with a letter from the LOC1 chairman. Why? We believe the village knows your stability or instability. But now the challenge is the walls. This increasing urbanization, you have walls being erected around each home. Neighbors can no longer know who is who in the community. So we don't have communities anymore anyway. That's another point of appeal. The walls we are erecting is to keep away thieves, yes, but we are also destroying the social cohesion.
Is there anything, General, that you think we have not consumed in these few minutes that you think is very pertinent for the public consumption, especially on matters regarding mental health in the army?
The question of socialization at home. I use the word upbringing, okay? But the psychological term is socialization. When you are teaching children the good and the bad, what is it that they should also have in their package, in their mind, as children? Because remember, what you are giving this child between 0 and 7 will determine his life or her life until they die. Those first 7 years. And that's what we neglect, especially in Africa. In modern times, we are running after life, neglecting the most important, the future of our society.
Your very last words, Brigadier Felix Kulayigye, to the public, especially on matters regarding mental health.
Mental health is very important. It's critical. It's a very crucial aspect of national security. So, let us take interest in drug abuse, because it has become a big contributor to mental instability. And you know why? Young men are running to energy enhancers because physically they are weak. Their bodies have not been tasked to be solid, and so they are sexually weak. I'll never forget a 26-year-old girl telling me that how can imagine somebody asks me, we go for sex, after 2 minutes the man comes and he's asking me, have you come? And she said, how can I come in only 2 minutes? I was embarrassed on behalf of men. But that's a point. And she's not alone. If you have noticed, there are more young girls going for older men. Yes, the justification is about money. That's not the only reason. Older men take interest in proving what he can be. Are you getting what I'm talking about? My generation, those that are around my age bracket, you do not want a woman to remain thinking you are unable, you are useless. Today, the young people do not take care. I don't know if you get what I'm doing. They have no point to prove. That self-entitlement I mentioned earlier is in everything. Whether the girl has come or not, it's none of his business. For him, he has gotten what he wanted. And that's why masturbation has become an issue. If they can't satisfy the other end, after I can solve the problem myself, forgetting is weakening the muscles even the more. So let's take interest in child socialization. Let's take interest in drug abuse. If you go to most of the rehabilitation centers, the candidates, the clients rather, are children of the middle class and the rich people. Well, I want to thank you for having given me interest in knowing what we do and what we think about mental health. And like I said, it has increasingly become necessary to bother about mental health. But the starting point is not when the person is showing signs of sickness. The starting point is preparation from childhood. Prepare this person for challenges ahead, because they will be there.
Thank you, Brigadier Felix Kulayigye, the spokesperson of the Uganda People's Defense Forces, for finding time to speak to us, especially on matters regarding mental health in the army. I hope that you and I have picked a lesson. Mental health is an issue that requires a collective responsibility. It is an issue that requires everybody to give attention. Those are matters regarding mental health in the army. Thank you very much for being part and parcel of Beyond the Surface. My name is Fred Makubuya.